Recently, I've had a few people asking me whether it is still worth it to pursue data careers in 2026, especially with the recent advancements of AI. Here's my take. I don't think the data roles are dead, but the expectations for these data roles have changed. If you're still approaching them as how you did maybe a year or two ago, then you're already behind. If you're new here, hi, I'm Sarnesh. I'm a data analyst turned analytics engineer, and I've been working in the healthcare industry for the past 2 years in Malaysia. And these are the three mistakes I would avoid if I'm trying to get into a data analytics career in 2026. The first mistake is thinking that building dashboards and visualizing data is enough. Maybe 2 years ago it was enough, but the landscape has shifted dramatically. Conversational AI tools and agents have already reached a point when even non-technical users can query their data in natural language. A user can just type, "What has happened to my revenue in the past month?" and these tools can bring up the relevant data to answer the queries. They don't need an analyst to do that now. So if your whole value as an analyst is just to tell stakeholders on what is happening based on charts, then that's a problem because there are already tools that can do it on its own. So what can you do to stand out? See, although all these AI agents can analyze data and even build charts, what it lacks is business context and market awareness. The AI won't know if your operations has changed in the last month. You may not know that maybe your management has changed and the directions is different. You may not know there's a new competitor that entered the market and it's causing some disruptions. All these contexts and nuances aren't available just by looking at the data. So as an analyst, if you're able to connect the dots, connect the numbers to this business context and the market situation, your value has just gotten much higher because this is something AI can't do right out of the box. Basically, the key message here is that instead of telling stakeholders what is happening through charts, you should be able to tell them why it's happening and what actionable steps they should do next based on the business context and the market situations. The second mistake I see people make is not taking the time to learn about the full data journey. Now, as an analyst, you're expected to analyze clean data and give insights and all that good stuff. But here's the thing people don't really tell you. Knowing where the data is sourced from, what kind of processes it goes through until it reaches to the stage where you can actually analyze it is just as important. Because whenever numbers don't look right, you will have a rough idea on where it went wrong if you understand and know the full data journey. Now, I'm not asking you to learn everything there is to be a data engineer, like the infrastructure and tools, but just having a rough high level idea of where the data is coming from and what kind of processes is applied to it before it reaches to the stage where you are able to analyze the data is very useful. Whenever you are explaining things to your stakeholders, a lot of times stakeholders might ask for new data or have new requests. And if you know where the data is being sourced from and what kind of data is available, then you are able to answer them on whether their request is possible or not. And if you're working with data engineers, it makes their lives easier as well because whenever things go wrong, if you feel like numbers don't look right, you will have a rough idea on where things may have gone wrong, and it helps the data engineers to look for the issue as well. So as an analyst, knowing the full data journey, even on a high level, actually makes you stand out more compared to someone that is just focused on the analysis part, because whenever something goes wrong, you know where to look. When a stakeholder asks you why a metric changed, you will be able to trace it back to the issue. The third mistake I see people making is focusing too much on the technical side of things and ignoring the business side of things. See, data roles exist in every industry: healthcare, tech, finance, logistics, retail, everywhere. So the options are endless, and this is a good thing because you have so many choices that you can choose from. And here's the thing: the expectations of a data role from a healthcare industry is different for the same data role in, say, let's say retail. Someone who only knows the technical side of things may not be able to answer stakeholder questions that require business context. For example, let's say you report to the stakeholder saying, "Oh, the sales in this particular store dropped by 10%. They're obviously going to ask you why, and then you have no answer because the data shows you that the numbers dropped, but it doesn't really tell you why. And that's because you're lacking certain business or market context. Now, let's say you're an analyst that is aware of how the market is operating right now, what's happening around you, then you may be able to answer that, oh, a competitor just opened the store next to yours and they have, good launch bonuses. So some of your customers went over there. And these contacts may not appear in your data set because it's external things, but it could be only something that you know because you follow the news, you're aware of how your industry is operating. So my advice is that if you're interested in entering any specific industry, take the time to learn more about it, how the processes work there, who are the main players, what good actually looks like in that industry. And this is actually very beneficial when you're constructing reports to your stakeholders. And these are the 3 mistakes I would avoid if I'm trying to get into a data analytics career in 2026. Yes, AI exists, it's evolving, but your data roles aren't gone. Only the expectations has changed. See, the thing about tech-related roles is that tech is always evolving. There's always going to be a new thing. First it was machine learning, and then there was AI, now there are agents, and it's going to keep evolving, right? And adapting to it is what's going to separate you from the rest. If you're just someone that's going to be stuck to one thing and not willing to upskill yourself and learn new things, then you're going to be left behind. Doesn't mean that the role is gone, but the expectations are different. So don't be overwhelmed, but also don't be left behind. That's all for this one. Catch you on the next one. Peace.